news came from Beijing about Tiananmen Square, I was studying at Nanjing University, so it was about 1,000 miles away from Beijing. The only place that things can happen is Beijing, and I have to be there, and I have to be part of it. In 1989, a lot of people have gone through the same sort of thought, have gone through the same kind of determination to make up their mind to go to Tiananmen Square, to stay there until the very end. The world probably will never forget the image of a young man standing alone in front of a column of tanks. I think what the world also should remember is that there was an entire generation standing behind that young man. This generation, my generation, came from Cultural Revolution. They were born there and they raised at that time, which is the darkest time in modern history. Mao presented the Cultural Revolution as a Marxist dream, but in reality, it was a nightmare. It was part of his own struggle to hold on to power. What happened in Cultural Revolution is kind of glorification of hatred, legitimizing murder, killings, punishment, persecution. The Cultural Revolution started in 1966 and lasted for 10 years. But the worst part of it was during the Red Guard movement, when millions of young people set out to destroy everyone they believed to be enemies of Mao. Crazy with the power Mao had given them, they created a nationwide anarchy of terror. Chinese social structure collapsed and hundreds of millions of people suffered. I was born just a month before Cultural Revolution. My father was a Soviet-educated engineer, and my mother was a daughter of a rich landlord. And so all of those backgrounds make them very susceptible to class struggle in Cultural Revolution. And indeed, as soon as the Cultural Revolution started, both of them were separated and sent into labor camps, re-education through labor, so they can't raise me anymore. So I was given first to a peasant's family, and then they don't like me, and sent me to another family. Once again, they didn't like me. So I was another one. It seems nobody liked me. So I end up in this kindergarten at the age of 3. It's more like a kind of orphanage. And even in the kindergarten, it's kind of a reflection of the society. It's a macro reflection of society. You know, you have first official, you have fight among the second or third, and once you get into the official position, you can bully other people. At that time, during the height of the Cultural Revolution, a bad family background was enough to put you into a category of the lowest of society. Everybody can spit on you. Everybody can order you around, and you're just nobody. But there's one event which not only changed my life in kindergarten, but also I think changed my life forever. I don't know how to describe it, but it has to do with a lizard. The teacher ordered me to stand by the door where it's really cold with my bare foot. Everybody laughed at me. And all of a sudden I realized actually something is going on my feet. So I think I was stunned. I can't move. Because according to the tale that we knew in the kindergarten, once the lizard touches you, you either have to die or the part that lizard touches will fall off instantly. So I think for the whole night I was dreaming all kinds of things happening to me. I dare not to say what happened to my feet, but I have to get up. So gradually I turned the quilt. And here they are, a pair of feet, not much different from the one yesterday I have. That really make me feel kind of special now. I have nothing to offer. I have no cookies, no picture books, nothing. Know nothing about outside world. But now I'm a friend of a lizard, this most poisonous, fearsome, powerful monster. In this friendship, I found my strength. I know somehow that there is some mysterious force supporting me. And with the confidence this force gave me, I gained the respect of others. Whenever I made a very important decision in my life, whenever I was hesitated, whenever I kind of a little bit scared, don't know what to do, and yet have to go on, I thought about lizards. I thought of the lizard again in 1989, on the train from Nanjing to Beijing, on my way to Tiananmen Square. I don't have money to buy a ticket, so I sneaked into the train. And I had nothing but a pair of underwear in my pocket. That's all I had when I went to Beijing. And yet I have the same determination that we're going to make some differences. We were raised to be educated, to be told constantly that what we had is paradise on earth. The system created by Mao and continued by Deng is a system which fundamentally denied individual freedom and the basic respect of human rights. It is a system which controlled every aspect of your life. It is all-powerful and is everywhere. I remember there's one time after I was kicked off from kindergarten and I was sent to my latest adopted family. This is the first time I've ever encountered love, sex, crimes. And in communist China, during Cultural Revolution, all three concepts are somehow twisted together. It took place in an abandoned castle where my friends and I played. But one day something happened. And when we walked into the building, we discovered there's a lot of white papers with blood. Blood in Chinese terms always means something unlucky. So we left the building. And one day we went to the castle again, but this time the castle's entrance was blocked by the bricks. And on the wall there was a big poster issued from the local people's court. It was said that a young man and a woman were having sex in that building, and it was caught by our good people's army, and they were sentenced to the labor camp. There's a crowd of people approaching us. At the head of the team was that young couple. The woman had a pair of worn shoes in front of her breast. And the man was shouting loudly, "I am a rapist. I am a rapist." I was thinking for a long time why authorities is always seeking the opportunities to punish those who fall into love with each other. And now I understand, because by denying one of the most fundamental desires of a human being, they deny humanity as a whole. And only by denying humanity, they can make people and turn people into political tools. I know there is a great danger for me going to Beijing, so I told my girlfriend that I was going to visit home. I don't want her to worry. Yet it doesn't really scare me at all. I have survived many disasters. I could never really forget the earthquake when I was 10 in my hometown, Tangshan. More than 240,000 people were killed, more than half of the town. And what is important to me is that I lost every member of my latest adopted family. Whenever I remember that event, it's just full of nightmare. Everybody is dead by the time I get there, except little Six. Little Six and I are probably the closest in that family. And I always know that I'm going to find some way to deal with any situation. He depends on me. And even right before he died, he said, I can't breathe anymore. Try harder, I know you can save me. And I couldn't. We didn't receive any relief support for a long time. I began to understand a term in Chinese politics. It's called grass people, dirt people, which means the people of nobody. The government didn't really care about the people in Changshan. And at that time, I realized I'm only part of this people of nobody. People without any voice and without any power. I had always wished that I could have grown up faster, so that I will be strong enough to do something to help them. After the earthquake, I was collecting the ruins, and all of a sudden I find a lot of Western postcards. It is so beautiful. And the men's women have kind of smiles you never see in Cultural Revolution in China. And I remember that night I had a dream that I was carried by an angel and to a new place where people smiles with pigeons, with beautiful buildings. So ever since then, I know that there's the entire outside world exists. And they live completely different. Only 1 month after the earthquake, Mao died, and we began to gradually mark a departure from Cultural Revolution. Few years later, this is the Deng Xiaoping era. You began to get different ideas other than Mao's quotation. Deng encouraged the people to hang posters on a wall in central Beijing, expressing their anger over the excesses of the Cultural Revolution. This was called the democracy wall. But the criticism went beyond what Deng had hoped. So he quickly shut it down and arrested those who pushed the criticism too far. The worst offender was Wei Jinsheng, one of my heroes. One of the most vigorous critic of the system and the most idealistic, enthusiastic announcers of a future different system.
也都是逐渐转到了认识到，就是说，中国的问题呢，必须要从搞民主这个角度来解决它，其他的角度可能是不太能够解决了。但是在79年的时候呢，这样想的人还不是很多。
He's the first one who spelled out the importance of human rights and democracy. And for that, he was put into Chinese dark jail, 15 years.
就是在一个小房间里，一天到晚就在这个房间里待着，而且是长年累月的。而且就是仅仅是这样还不够，他还想一些其他办法来折磨你。他可以1年不让你晒太阳，不放风，住在一个背阴的房子里。这样时间长了，你肯定就要生病了，各方面的器官都会出毛病。比如说牙齿肿了，他不给你看， 不给你治疗，什么药也不给你。
Because of him, many people, including myself, were inspired.
79年的民主墙运动呢，它真正开始起了作用了，在人民群众中开始传播开来了。用中国话讲，就是生了根发了芽。
Early 80s, at one hand, we have to stick to the proletarian dictatorship, and at the same time began new periods called open door policy. You began to have books translated from the West. You began to even have the TV serial from the West. And all of a sudden, we realized that the people in the so-called capitalist world live much, much better than we do. And I try not to think about those earlier days and that kind of sense of loneliness, and try to integrate myself into a bigger picture. We could only learn about the true China through books and magazines bought on the black market. And my generation came to realize what life was, is, could be, and indeed should be. I was constantly reading almost every piece published at that time. And I sort of related those experiences to my own experiences and began to have a general picture about what had happened. Deng Xiaoping maybe wear a different mask from Mao, but equally cruel and brutal in nature. There were tens of thousands of political prisoners, but there was still a dream of a more democratic China, especially in the hearts of the students. I began to know more about Communist Party. One of the few high government officials who championed real change was Hu Yaobang, General Secretary of the Communist Party. Because of his support of an earlier student movement, he was ousted from power in 1987. So when the news came from Beijing about the death of Hu Yaobang, it was quite a chilling effect on me. And his death obviously also symbolized the end of the hope for the internal reform. Within hours of his death, memorial posters began appearing on campuses across China. By that afternoon, the first mourners appeared in Tiananmen Square. The movement had begun. And in 1989, in a way that I felt I am ready. Finally, I'm grown up, and I should take that responsibility now. There's a voice telling me that I must go. And for me, this is something that I have yearned for my whole life. This is the time I must do something.